welcome back to your Neuro Dive Corner. My name is Sheila. I'm your host. First, let me welcome back all of the subscribers. Thank you so much for being part of this community. We greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much for the high engagement on the videos as of recent. It finally looks like our channel got out of trouble, and it doesn't seem like it's being shadow banned anymore. So that's good. That is progress. That is um, that we needed that. So that is always good news. We've been having a lot of new members, a lot of out of the country new members. So we've been getting a lot of friends from Canada. So thank you so much, Canada. I promise you that we are not all insane. We we might be a little bit. No, but yeah, no, not all of us are completely radicalized yet. It seems. I would like to hope. But yeah, so thank you so much for the new subscribers from Canada and any other country. Let me know in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from. What time is it? What are you doing? What are you up to? Me personally, today, we are gonna talk about secularism, why it matters, and how it's coming into play right now as we speak in real life, in real time. And it's a really important conversation to have. So we are going to have it a little bit from the neurodivergent standpoint, and then I'll just be ranting and raving, I guess, um, talking about that. Hey, hi, Red Zone 19. I am doing good. How are you? Where are you from? Where are you watching from? So anyhow, let me get back to the oh, and also thank you to the new subscribers. I believe we have like 3 new subscribers, at least that I can see, because remember, if you're in private mode or anything like that, I can't really see what you're doing. So um anyway, so back to secularism and why it matters. So, unless you are living under a rock, we can safely say that no, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna use hyperbole just yet. Hi, Lewis Brown. Hi, thank you for joining. Thank you. Do all the good stuff, guys. Like, subscribe, comment, share, invite everybody, smash the hearts, all of that. um, and let me know where you're from, where you're watching from, what time is it, what are you up to tonight? Today, like I said, I'm talking about secularism and why it's important. So, as you all know, we had BB, the war criminal from over there, get our very orange Kenkel's leader into a conflict with Iran. Now, there is a long history as to why we have not engaged with Iran in the past, even when they did not have a nuclear weapon, or prior, when they could have had a dirty nuclear weapon. Presidents knew to stay out of it. I am not going to speak on military things because that is not my lane and I like to stay on my lane. So we are not going to get into that. But let's just say that our country has a lengthy history of failed regime changes and nation rebuilding. And this is going to cost us, and we're going to get to that in this video. So if you guys give me 1 second, we can talk a little bit more about it. But I got to get Chunks in the video because for whatever reason he's crying and he just had food. So I'm not really sure why is he crying and why is he trying to get away. Oh, thank you, Louis. Thank you. So yeah. So one of the reasons we got goaded into this obviously is because we have a feckless man leading this country and is somebody that has no knowledge of civics, has no knowledge of working anything, working government. He is a failed businessman. Let's not lose perspective of that. The man managed to bankrupt 6 casinos and pretty much any other venture that he started after his daddy gave him money. So why do we find ourselves pretty much at the doors of World War III? Well, part of it has to do with religion. And you're going to probably say, what does religion have to do with neurodivergence? And it does have a lot to do with it. I am not going to sit here and debate theology because, again, that is not my lane. We are going to talk about how does religion, as we know and as it has been described, being the opiate of the masses. Give me 1 second. Be right back, guys. Okie dokies. I'm back. So, religion has been described as the opiate of the masses. And I am not going to sit here and say that is the case. It does soothe, it does have that soothing quality about it. And it does to an extent when it could be the opiate of the masses, and I'll get into that a little bit more. But there is under OCD, right, under the diagnosis of obsessive compulsive disorders in the DSM, something that kind of like talks a little bit about this. Obviously, there is not an official diagnosis that deals with religious extremism and radicalization and things like that. But under the umbrella of obsessive compulsive disorders, there is a thing that it's the opposite of secularism, right? So it's almost like when you are talking about a narcissistic having or somebody that's having a psychotic break and they're having grandiose thoughts. It's something similar to that. It's called oh my god, scrupulous. Not like you're scrupulous as a person, but as an action. And it is pervasive. And I think that is what we're seeing right now in this conflict is the intersection of extreme religious thought, a lot of people that put a lot of weight into um, religion and manifestation and how can I put it? Almost like predicting the future, Um, like, for example, I live now in the Bible Belt. And that is what's happening right now is we have um, a leader in place where different extremist powers have realized how easily manipulated he is. And everybody's just kind of like ganging up on that and cashing in on that. And it flies because again, religion being the opiate of the masses kind of like gives that sensation of permission. It creates a permission structure for these things to happen. And this is why secularism in government it's vital because when you have secular governments, decisions are made on a constitutional level. And usually, most democracies that learned from us when we had FDR style government realized that if you build the middle class, right? And if you make people's life concretely better, you and that's why we have term limits is because when FDR started governing like that and when when he started getting into that mindset of creating social um networks and safeguards, that's when we had to go to term limits because he people would have kept voting for him, and that is not what our constitution was designed to do. Our constitution, as imperfect as it might be, is designed to avoid having a dictator or one true ruler or a king. Obviously, they didn't put enough safeguards in there because here we be. But it is very sad because right now the extreme religion thought is literally what is dictating our foreign policy. And being the superpower, the global superpower, we cannot afford to have a government that is conducting an illegal, unconstitutional war at a time where we are suffering as Americans. But the problem is, people are not going to wake up because we are not practicing secularism. The government is very aware of this brand of Christian nationalism, and they are exploding that to get people to rally behind this war because they know that's the only way they're going to goad people. um they don't have any other excuses to manufacture consent for this conflict because they played out the nuclear capabilities excuse, and they are so incompetent that they tell on what they're going to do ahead of time a lot of the times. So, you know, If we were practicing secularism, we wouldn't have people as incompetent as Pete Hegseth dictating military moves based on biblical prophecy. And that is one of the biggest issues we are having right now is we literally have people in our leadership that are making policy and military decisions based on black and white thought, based on religious extremism, because Christian nationalism is extreme and it is very pervasive. It is like OCD. You get indoctrinated early on in the fact that you are an imperfect vessel, so there is always forgiveness with no accountability. You are anointed, so that makes you special. So whatever other people go through, they must have done something, and that's why they're suffering. So you see how this pervasive thoughts can actually kind of like stunt critical thought, and people wind up doing really, really bad things when they get into that black and white type of thought. And when we're talking about religion, even more, because that is usually very intimate, very intrinsic to a person's identity, and sometimes is their whole identity. Um, and what's ironic to me is that the type of Christian the brand of Christianhood that we're seeing in the United States right now, it's, it's the same. It's the same coin. It's just the other side. We used to criticize. We still criticize Islam, and some people hate Muslims in this country. And they're always throwing that whole Sharia law thing out there. When Sharia law is nothing but the same thing as the Ten Commandments. It is that major religion's commandments, with the difference that it gives you guidance to avoid the sins tied to the commandments. But right now, if you think about it, this brand of Christian nationalism is psychotic in the way it functions and is extremist in the way it functions. It criticizes Sharia law, but it requests that women submit and obey their husbands. That to me sounds the same as the other side. Think about it. Um, and the brand that we are practicing is even worse because it's not even the what the prophet actually did in his life. You have a bunch of crazy nationalist people that think they are actually fighting a spiritual war. So there is a level of psychosis to it. When you have people that think they are going to manifest the return of their white savior, because that's what people like Pete Hegseth are waiting on. And this is why I always say that we need to practice secularism. We cannot have religion fanatics leading any country. It never ends well. It always ends up in black and white type of thought and hate instead of unifying, which is what religion is supposed to do. Me, for example, I was raised Catholic, and But one of the things that I realize about the prophet in the New Testament, and and what I choose to kind of like live my life by, is very different from what these people and what they're practicing. Over here, they are all about your personal relationship with God, and that's it. And staying a virgin and being a traditional whatever. A lot of things that don't make a lot of it's not rational. It's really not rational if you think about it. However, the things that are rational and that the prophet actually did, they do not um they do not teach that, they do not practice it. Is the other way around. I think if Jesus Christ was to return today, um, and do like he did, go to the temple as a child, and actually debate with the leadership, which is healthy. That is one of the things that Jesus benefited from, because he was Jewish, a Jewish man. And in the Jewish religion, they don't ask you to blindly believe. They debate, they go back, they study their books, they study their Talmud, all of that. And debate is healthy. That's how people make progress. That's how we achieve and affect change. But in government, if religion has a hand, you're never going to have that. What you're going to have is what we have right now: a bunch of countries that think they're fighting a, how can I put it, a divine war. And just that fact makes them worthy of oppressing and annihilating each other. And that's just sad. So, if we were practicing secularism, we wouldn't find ourselves in this issue, because we would be engaging critical thinking and understand that we do not need to bring upon the Armageddon and rapture prepping and whatever other crazy stuff that people think is going to happen at the end of the world. I think the answer here is building community, like we're doing, sharing resources, and forcing our leaders to improve our lifestyle, because the conflict over there, the $40 billion to Argentina, the little play in Venezuela, how does that help you? How does that better your life? Are you going to wake up with better health tomorrow? Or even with better health care? Are you going to wake up with money for a down payment on a home? So, yes, that's why religion over here, government over here. That's the way it should work. And that's what we should advocate for. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for putting up with me. Make sure that you guys keep engaging. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, lift each other, study, do more listening. Trust me, that's what's going to get us, hopefully, to a better place. Bye bye.